Today, we have actually the opportunity to ignite a wave of transformative action as we discuss critical challenges of our time that impact the future of our ocean. A future that we will shape today together, protecting our oceans and marine ecosystems while also trying to drive a sustainable blue economy. This discussion is so significant as well as we look ahead towards 2030 and beyond, envisioning resilient, thriving ocean ecosystems that sustain life, economies, and communities worldwide. Thank you, Your Excellencies, for joining us here today. Let me take a moment and let's imagine that we are living in the year of 2030, and we have successfully managed to reverse the degraded oceans and the marine ecosystem. We have a very healthy fisheries environment, a very healthy coral reefs, very healthy protected areas, and we are also able to unlock the potential of blue economy. My question to you would be, what is the single most important action that we need to take today that would make that vision a reality? Let me begin with Her Excellency Miriam. What is your thoughts?
That's a long list. So first of all, allow me to say thank you for welcoming me here and for being part of this panel. It's a long list because we're already in 2025, and I'm trying to envisage 5 years from now. But let's imagine that we really manage to address all the issues that there are. Yesterday, I was speaking with Her Excellency, the Minister for the Environment, and you told me something I kept in mind. We don't speak about challenges, but about opportunities. And this is something that I try to do as much as possible back home. If we manage to do all that by 2030, it means that we have really invested in understanding our oceans. I like to refer to us as children of the sea. We live in Malta, a very small island in the middle of the Mediterranean, surrounded by sea, and we understand the potential that exists. But to really make the leap forward and not look at our seas just as an opportunity, an industrial opportunity, but really and truly as a blue economy opportunity, it means that we have invested in learning, in understanding, in educating our people, our children, the private sector, that the sea that surrounds us is immense, and that we have reached a proper balance between looking and unlocking the economic potential, but also ensuring environmental integrity. And we have to ensure environmental integrity of the sea, because otherwise we'll not gain those benefits or those opportunities.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I believe that this is a very important point to begin with, understanding our oceans. Your Excellency Thoriq, what is your views?
First of all, good morning to you all, and thank you for having me. One of the single most decisive action that we have to take today is to ratify and enforce the BBNG agreement. As you know, this is a landmark treaty, provides a global framework for the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity in the areas beyond national jurisdictions. So these areas are vital for our planet's health, but have long been faced with threats due to the limited governance and human activities. So actually, we call upon all the countries to ratify BBNJ agreement that can be enforced for the coming ocean conference this year. So by adopting and implementation BBNJ agreement, we can close the critical gaps in ocean governance, ensuring that the marine resources are managed sustainably and equitably. I am very proud to say that Maldives has been demonstrated the leadership of being one of the first Asian countries to ratify the BBNJ. So I hope that we taking example from us that all the other countries will ratify the BBNJ so that we will have a healthy ocean by 2030.
Indeed, it is very important, and the governance of oceans is something that we still need to work on. Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, Max, can you share some of your views on what is the most important action that we need to take today?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I don't think that one action will be enough, as my colleague from Malta said, and I'm more convinced about one state of mind, one spirit of mind that can really change things. And to answer your question, I would say that the thing that we need to change the most to really protect efficiently our oceans is that to assume that we depend on our oceans. And I think this panel is really appropriate because you have many islanders, and also I see in the audience that we have many island nations. And we have an impact on the oceans, and the oceans have also an impact on us as humans. And we were talking with Her Excellency from the UAE that in Cali we were in the Biodiversity Cup. And most of the time when we humans talk about biodiversity, we talk about it as if we were spectators, as if we were looking at it. But we are 100% part of the biodiversity. So when we will realize that oceans are not something that we just observe, but that we depend on, I think this state of mind will really allow us to protect efficiently our oceans.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And Dr. Amna, could you share also some of your views?
Thank you, Doctora, and good morning to everyone. And it's a real pleasure to be in this panel. And I think keeping me for last is leaving not much to be said after all the main points and excellent points that have made by their excellencies. But I will just put our attention back on some of the major statistics related to how ocean contributes to the health of the world. 50 to 80% of the oxygen in the world is produced by oceans. A lot of it is also absorbed by microorganisms and creatures of the oceans. And with human activities, we have around 80 to 90% of our trade is mainly logistically supported by oceans. So we have to really invest in what Her Excellency said, understanding the oceans, and we believe that there is abundance in nature. There's so many that we did not yet understand in nature, and we have to work collaboratively with nature so we can drive the solutions that will allow us to reach to that point. I know it's very ambitious, and maybe we can say it's very dreamy to say that we would have reached our goal by 2030, but we can dream about that, and we can create opportunities from those challenges by resorting back to the natural solutions that are abundantly available in nature, and ocean being 2/3 of our globe. Then there's so many solutions that we haven't yet invested in understanding, and part of that solution is the coastal communities that His Excellency have mentioned. We have to make sure that we bring the knowledge of those coastal communities, the indigenous knowledge about their environments, because that will contribute heavily into driving solutions, innovative solutions, and combining that with today's technology and the indigenous knowledge and understanding scientifically the resources that we have in our oceans will allow us to strive to achieve and reach to that point by 2030.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. And what I take from the points that has been raised just now is that we need to put more attention towards ocean from knowledge, understanding, and also highlighting the services that they bring to the community, to the economy, and to many things that we are still lagging behind. Let me take you into a country-specific question. And I'm sure, given that all of you are nations that's surrounded by water, you have your own challenges, but also you have many great opportunities. And I would like to ask you a question, specific question to each of you, highlighting the aspects and the role of your countries in driving the marine conservation, but also driving the blue economy. I will start with you, Your Excellency Miriam. Malta is a Mediterranean island state. It's on my wish list to visit.
You're welcome.
And heavily, thank you so much, and heavily reliant on the sea resources. So what actions do you consider most effective in achieving a climate resilience?
First of all, you're very, very welcome to visit our island. It's a very small island, strategically positioned exactly in the middle of the Mediterranean, and that brings along with it a lot of opportunities, because we believe that being an island between the European continent and also the African continent, we're bridge builders diplomatically, but not only, because we are the cradle. The Mediterranean, I believe, is really the cradle of civilization, but we can bring together different nations to understand the potential that exists. Now, when we speak about the blue economy coming from a very small island, it's true that there are a number of challenges or limitations, but there are loads of opportunities as well. We understand a lot the need of different countries to come together, particularly when it comes to addressing big issues like climate resilience, as you are mentioning as well, because like many small islands, our contribution when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions is negligible, but the impacts are extreme. I will refer to, for example, sea level rise as one of the major impacts or concern that small islands have. But being a small island doesn't stop us from being ambitious, from looking beyond what we can do today. And one of the things that we are primarily focusing on is the transition also in the frame of mind of how we think and how we look at our oceans, because for many, many times, our oceans were looked upon as the catalyst for the maritime industry. Now, to transition to blue economy, it means that we need to have initiatives in place, but we need to have the right frame of mind as well. And as a country, we're focusing and pushing in making sure that the blue economy is also part of what we do and not only just part of our narrative. And that means that we are looking at reaching the right balance between making sure that we unlock the potential of the economic benefits of our oceans, but making sure that at the same time we balance them out with environmental integrity. What we are currently working primarily on is at unlocking the potential of offshore renewables. Now, being a very small island, probably most of you would understand this, there are limitations when it comes to the bathymetry, particularly in the Mediterranean Sea, because it is a very, very deep sea compared to other seas elsewhere. So when we are looking at offshore renewables, for us, fixed bottom offshore renewables are not a solution, so we have to look at floating offshore renewables. That's why I was speaking about also investing in understanding more our oceans, because when we invest more in understanding the potential of our oceans, we can come up with those technological solutions that can work for different countries, because no single technological solution works for everyone the same. That brings me also to another very important issue, investing more in greener fuels when it comes to the maritime sector, particularly the logistics sector, which is particularly important for island states that are not connected to mainland continents. All these things, whilst they may be looked upon as an additional burden, particularly for those countries or those states that have been doing something for a long time and it has reaped benefits for them, they might look at these as an additional burden. But we understand that in the longer term, it is beneficial, even though it might be costly initially from the outset. But all this requires us to come together, very small island like Malta can't do it alone, but I believe that also the big countries can't do it alone. So I believe in coordinating and coming together to share knowledge, to share know-how, and to make sure that we channel investments where we need to channel them, so that ultimately we'll arrive at a point to what you described in your first question. A date at 2030 where we have really understood the benefits of the blue economy and where we manage to really strike a good balance between having economic benefits that leave no one behind, but also ensuring environmental integrity.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Great points, highlighting the importance of maritime planning and putting the maritime as part of the blue economy as a driver. Another point that I take from you, the importance of regional collaboration to unlock those potentials. Thank you. Your Excellency, Thoriq, I love Maldives. I have visited it many times, and I will continue to visit because I enjoy the pristine oceans. So if you can tell us how Maldives leverage its leadership to secure the global commitments on climate finance and resilience for vulnerable communities such as yours.
Thank you for this important question. Maldives has constantly demonstrated leadership on climate action, advocating the urgent and equitable solutions for vulnerable islands like Maldives. We are the first among the vulnerable island nations highlighting the threat of impact of climate change and extreme events to the world, including the slow onset of such events as sea level rise and its implications to seeds. Maldives also played a very key pivotal role as a founding member of Alliance of Small Island States, which remains a strong voice in global climate negotiations. Also, our leadership is extended in international climate financing mechanisms, including the establishment of the Adaptation Fund, Green Climate Fund, and also recently the Loss and Damage Fund. So we have been very vocal on trying to have easy access to these funds because all this time it's been very difficult for small island states especially to access these funds in the event of adversities. So we want the process to be very easy and quick to access these funds for us to have adaptation plans, adaptation infrastructure in place. And we constantly push for a simple, as I said, access to all these, especially the very, very vulnerable seeds to have access easily. Currently, Maldives is the coalition of atoll island nations on climate change, and we are spearheading efforts to develop regional specific solutions and collaborating with multilateral development banks. We have also in conversation with regional island regions, to explore options on how mechanisms, how we can have other financing mechanisms in place within our region. Also, we are trying to mobilize private sector investments, especially in renewables, and also fisheries and tourism sector to foster the economy. Especially, as you know, the Maldives, we have, right now, as we speak, we have 93 protected areas in the Maldives, and out of that we have a few that is being managed. So what the thing that we are trying to do is to have more managed protected areas so that the oceans around the country, our country, is well managed and well protected. So that's one of the areas which we are looking at on this to have a blue ocean economy within the country. And to meet the scale of the climate crisis, we believe that climate Marshall Plan is essential, prioritizing the grant-based financing and also capacity building for vulnerable countries. So this Marshall Plan is very, very important. We feel that we must have it immediately, and strengthening international partnerships is crucial to achieving these goals and ensuring a sustainable, climate-resilient future for island nations like Maldives. Thank you.
I hear you. Financing is very important, specifically for nations like you who are threatened by those challenges that we talk about. So tapping into different models of finance is very much important. The second point is the ground implementation, on-the-ground implementation for certain protected areas also is important, not only for Maldives, but for the entire nations who are part of the ocean and seas. Thank you so much. Dr. Amna.
Thank you.
UAE?
Oh, go ahead.
UAE is a global convening power. How can the UAE leverage its leadership in sustainability dialogue to drive stronger international commitments toward marine conservation and climate resilience?
I was so excited to just jump and talk about the UAE perspective once you said my name. So I think one of the things that we always like to speak about in every platform, how the UAE have brought the world together in COP28, one of the most important platforms when we talk about climate and its relation across all areas, including ocean sustainability and preservation, and what it has achieved during a very challenging time and some historic moments that brought those countries together to agree and to set themselves on a pathway to achieve the objectives of the Paris Agreement. Now, with that being said, this is not new to the UAE. The UAE is a country that has been established and built with unity at its heart. This is how the country came together and got established. And this, the value of coming together, identifying the strength in collective action is what drives the UAE action and efforts globally and nationally. One of the things that I have seen that, though I wasn't part of the government at that time, I started working in the government back in 2015, but back in 2014, Masdar and His Excellency Mohammed Ramhi is here with us today, have hosted a Blue Economy Summit with the government of Seychelles, and that just shows how the UAE is always forthcoming in identifying opportunities, making sure that it's not only driving efforts for its national benefits, but for international community as well. And this is one of the strengths that the UAE have always put forward. Next October, Your Excellency, we're hosting IUCN in our beautiful capital of Abu Dhabi. And this is a conference that happens every 4 years. Maybe Dr. Sheikha can talk about it better than I can do. But this is another platform that the UAE have made sure to bring here so that we put again our efforts to preserving the environment and conservations of nature on land and in water. Now, beside the convening power, because of the UAE also diplomatic efforts and the amazing efforts that our diplomats are doing all around the world, we also have the UAE as, and we always regard the UAE as an open innovation lab that welcomes ideas, and not only welcomes ideas, because ideas by themselves are not useful. You need to bring them to full implementation on the ground. And the UAE is all about action. So we are that open innovation lab, that we are willing to bring all innovations and test and take the risk to test and possibly scale with those solutions. And that applies to oceans, to solutions related to blue economy. The technological advancement that we have at the moment, I've just mentioned the abundance of resources that we have in our oceans. And with the advancement of technologies, like just last month, we've witnessed the launch of one of our state-of-the-art satellites, MBZ satellite from Hamid bin Rashid Space Center, with one of the highest resolutions possible, which will give us abundance of data as well. So understanding the science, the scientific side of the oceans, and also having those resources as data, marrying technology with science is going to put us ahead of understanding and providing the solutions for our challenges and create opportunities out of them, as the mantra that we always sing and we always repeat in every possible platform. The last thing that I would like to mention is our investments, and His Excellency had mentioned finance and how finance is important for sustaining or for driving solutions. The UAE have always worked with partner countries to invest in solutions that are going to drive prosperity, economical prosperity, but taking into account as well environmental preservation.
I totally agree with you, Your Excellency, and we can see, given that I come from UAE as well, and I can talk a lot about how much we invested as an effort and resources in understanding our closed, semi-closed sea. We don't belong to an ocean, but we belong to a closed semi-Gulf, Arabian Gulf Sea, which also faces a great challenges when it comes to temperature, acidity, circularity of the water, and so on. And I think the main driver for us, one, as Her Excellency Miriam said, understanding more our sea, innovation, investing in innovation and technology to accelerate that understanding, to be able to set those policies required to unlock the potential of our waters. Thank you. Your Excellency Max, Madagascar, the jewel of biodiversity. How Madagascar is strengthening the blue economy, definitely through examples such as sustainable tourism, marine renewable energy, and also ocean-based sequestration, while making sure that you are maintaining the health of your marine ecosystem.
Well, to start to answer to this question, I'd like to quote one say from our president, André Azuel, who always says that for too long, Madagascar has turned its back to the sea. And when you know that we are the fourth largest island in the world, it can just make you imagine how it has disabled us, to develop ourselves since the last 50 years. But now we have totally changed this paradigm, and we have put the ocean and the blue economy in the middle of our development strategy. For instance, Madagascar is the African country with the biggest, largest mangroves areas. Unfortunately, most of these mangroves are degraded. But in all the bad things, you need to find the opportunities. And today, when we talk about degraded mangroves, we can also talk about blue carbon, mangrove restoration. And this is an emerging market that will allow us to attract a lot of projects, to attract a lot of investment that will not only help us to restore our nature, but also bring socio-economic development. Because today, we don't talk only about carbon markets as 1 ton equal 1 credit. We talk about high-integrity carbon markets that will bring also socio-economic benefits to the population. You talked also about ecotourism. The Malagasy population and government is really jealous about its land. It's our precious lands that we inherited from our ancestors. But to develop the country, we need to give the investors a clear green light that if you want to invest in ecotourism, you will secure your investment on the long term. That is the reason in 2024, we passed a new law that allows investors to have concessions in the protected areas to develop ecotourism. ecotourism is not only putting hotels in forests or on islands, it's bringing also revenues, jobs, currencies that will develop the population, but also make it easier for us to monitor and to follow up the conservation jobs. And last but not least, when we talk about blue economy, we need also to talk about blue diplomacy. We always talk about green diplomacy, but not enough about blue diplomacy. And that is the reason in 2024 again, Madagascar hosted the COP11 on the Nairobi Convention, which is about protecting our coast and the coastal economy. And it allowed us, to talk with all the Indian Ocean partners about how can Madagascar really foster our blue economy, our blue jobs, and we are already feeling the first results of this blue diplomacy.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I love the idea of the blue diplomacy, and I call for all nations that are in front of the oceans and sea to come together to develop this further. I have been signaled about the time, so I will make it so short, but I cannot afford not asking you to look forward. If we were to draft ocean sustainability targets for the ex-SDG 2045, what would be the most ambitious yet achievable goal that could transform us to a global blue economy? In 30 seconds, please. Miriam.
I'll try and be short. It would be proper marine spatial planning. And I'm saying this because I believe it's concrete and it can give results. Because we need to understand through proper marine spatial planning which areas are most beneficial for which sectors. And like that we can take the utmost beneficial blue economic beneficial from this sector whilst ensuring environmental integrity, and we ensure also that we do not degrade those different areas.
Your Excellency, Max.
I would align with my colleague from Malta. Madagascar has 5,000 kilometers of coast, and we all know the Sydney promises that we need to protect 30% of our lands and of our oceans by 2030. But for the ex-SDGs 2045, I would say we need to have marine developed areas. Having 30% of our water that is protected is something, but it needs to be efficiently protected, and it needs to bring development to the coastal populations.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Dr. Amna.
Well, I would say global regenerative blue economy and framework that is inclusive of all stakeholders. And when we talk about 2045, then we're talking about the young generations who are basically maybe born this year and will be 20 at the time of 2045. So we have to really start now by including all the youth, the young generations, educating them, creating that awareness about the importance and what it means to create a true regenerative blue economy. And I would dare to say, if we achieve the 2030 goal, as we dreamt about in the first question, I would dare to say that it has to take the approach of a net positive, not just net zero approach.
Yeah, thank you. Your Excellency, Thoriq.
Thank you. That's a great question. I think first we have to start making with a substantial progress on making Montreal Protocol biodiversity framework target 30 by 30. So for XDGs, we need to build on this and scale up the ambitions for sustainable use of and restoration of protection and use of our oceans. So I think main is for us Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework 30 by 30.
Thank you. Definitely, as you have heard, this conversation has reinforced the urgency for action and innovation to protect our oceans and shape a sustainable blue economy. Your Excellencies, thank you for your insights, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for the commitment for this cause. Thank you so much. Let's take a group photo.